Shall we start, ma'am?
Yes, yes.
Hello, everyone. Present here virtually. I am Nalini here, and I welcome you all for today's which is titled as COVID-19 on the education sector. And presenting this session, we have our today's expert, Dr. Neeta Batla. Dr. Neeta Batla is doctorate in management from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam uh, Technical University. She is working as an associate professor and departmental in charge with Department of Management Studies, Babu Banarasi Das, North India Institute of Technology, Lucknow. Affiliated Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University, Lucknow. She is having an experience of 19 years in teaching management students. Her area of expertise is human resource and marketing. She has published 20 papers in national and international journals. She has also presented 15 papers in national and international conference. Without wasting much time, I am welcome to Dr. Neeta Bhatla. You can start now.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. The topic for the today's session, as ma'am has already said, it is on impact of COVID-19 on education sector. First, going through the when COVID-19 started, the first case that came up in China, and then in India, the case came that up in Kerala, and the COVID when the COVID-19 originated, the lockdown were being imposed in the four phases in India. There was a Janta curfew that was imposed on 22nd of March 2020, and then 25th of March the phases started up to 31st of May 2020 in the four phases. The first phase was of 21 days, then was of 19 days, 14 days, another 14 days. It was extended, and then the nation started operating in the wherever there were the contaminant zones. Red zones were there. There the things did not become operational, but the phases started opening in the 1st June 2020. During the COVID-19 phase, when COVID-19 came up, things were very uncertain. Now, how the first and the foremost thing that affected was the education sector. First and the foremost thing that the primary schools, the all these schools, colleges, universities, educational institutes, your coaching centers all started to be shut down, because it was such a problem which could spread from one person to the another. And now how to as the things were all going in person to person operational, but all of a sudden difficult things became difficult, and various platforms that were being used, but in that could only be possible in the urban areas. In India, if you talk of in the rural areas, the things were all closed. Nothing of things were operational, because none of the apps were there. None of the any many of the remote areas, the internet is not there, the access to the devices is not there. And this impact of COVID-19 on education in the post lockdown has also made this has affected the mental health of the students, the hygiene of the students. It has also affected the psychological state of the students. The students are not in a position to write up, and they are not ready to go to the school, and things all the things were on online. So things were, as earlier the things were in person, it has it has affected the mental and the hygiene or the other habits of the students also, where the students were more dependent on uh, mobile phones, on various technological platform, tablets and all, and through where they accessed their education. when we come to the objectives of the study, the first objective of our session is to know the current situation of this pandemic and its positive impact of COVID-19 on education sector. The second is to find out the negative impact of COVID-19 on the education sector and to explore the corrective steps to overcome the negative impact. Thirdly, it is to know the various steps taken by the government of India for education sector during this pandemic. So, first and the foremost thing is what was the current situation that affected during the pandemic? It was all of a sudden, and it was in such a hurry that all the institutions were supposed to be closed down because so that none of the students became affected. All the hostels, everything were being asked to be vacated by the students. All the students moved to their home for their parents. And the thing was, what was the thing which it explored is what was the positive impact which COVID-19 had on the education sector, and what was the negativity that it had on the education sector. And because education, while it goes in person to person, or we can say in a physical form, that affects a lot. And during the online sessions, things were there, but though technology has enabled them to their academic sessions did not get wasted, they could move move ahead. But how the things have happened and what were the various measures that were taken by the government of India for education sector during the pandemic. Now, what were the platforms that came into play during the online education? One was the Google Classroom that were being used. YouTube was being used, Blackboard Learn was being used, Coursera was being used, Skillshare was being looked, LinkedIn Learning was being used, Trainual was being used, Zoom was being used, Google Meet and WebEx. Which were most popular was the Google Classroom, YouTube. There were many of the universities who made use of Google Classrooms for posting the online the course materials and all these, so that the students can go through the course materials while they are at home, and so that they could stay safe. YouTube sessions were also being posted by the universities, where videos were being made of various topics and they were being posted on it. Then there was a Zoom platform also, that was Zoom and Google Meet were the most popular ones that were being used by the various other, even Cisco, WebEx, various other platforms that were being made into play. Now, what was the positive impact of COVID-19 on education sector? The first is the blended mode of learning has been adopted by all the education institution. So all the education systems became online. They started. Now, what was the thing that if not only the teachers but all the students also, everyone learned the making use of technology. Then students were able to manage their time more efficiently in online education. Though they were at home, getting up, scheduling their classes, doing their assignments, everything was being done on the online sessions itself. No concept of backbenchers in the online class. So there is no concept of like students while in physical form they sit at the back in the online classes, but there was no such kind of concept. Then students were able to learn new computer skills as lot of assignments and presentations were asked to make a part of their assessment. So they were being how they were able to learn what was the new computer skills. They were able to make a use of technology. Various apps came into play. They were able to do their assignments, share their presentations. Even the teachers were able to put the various assignments onto the various WhatsApp groups were being enabled. Various videos that were being shared by the educational institutions as well as by the teachers. Then fifth was no limitation of strength of the students learning at a time. Definitely n number of students can join. Then sixth is provided a great opportunity for self study and also help the students to analyze more effectively on what is being taught. So another very important thing was that what was the opportunity that was being there for the students. They were not moving outside. The time they were wasting in going to the school and colleges or universities, that was being saved, and they could learn. They could devote that time for self study, and they could analyze themselves most effectively. Last is students who were weak in any subjects were able to watch related videos of the same on the YouTube and other online platforms. There were various other platforms that were being used, YouTube or the other online platforms that were being used, where they could see the videos. Then the negative impact of COVID-19 on education sector. In many rural areas, students had limited or no internet access. Then many of the rural areas, there was no internet connection. There was all the remote areas where the students did not had any kind of laptop, they did not had any tablet, or they did not had any kind of smartphones to access the videos or to access. Even the school colleges of there did not had any platforms for them to teach them. And the teachers were also in the same phase, that they were not able to reach the students. Second was online teaching learning method created a divide rule between rich and poor, urban and rural. Those who were having the smartphones, or those who were technology enabled, as well as those who were in the urban areas, were more benefited than the rural areas. Teachers and students were unprepared for this start. This came all of a sudden, so none of those teachers and students were prepared on these platforms, because exercise for years have been going in person. Many school and universities were being closed, and almost all the universities and schools and universities were being closed worldwide. Not only in India, but worldwide they were being closed. Different boards postponed or changed the pattern of annual examinations. There were a kind of an internal exams, or internal exams that were being taken by the schools, became the basis of their grading or their assessments, and on the criteria of which they got their results. Criteria of which they got their results. Then the various initiatives that were taken by the government of India on education during COVID-19. First was under the secondary education, Diksha portal contains e-learning content for students. Now, various other things were being done, not only by the institutions, but also by the government concerned, whether at the state or the center. They were also working hard for the, so that the students' education do not suffer, and the secondary education up to class 12. Diksha portal contains e-learning for students, teachers, and parents, aligned for the curriculum, including video sessions, worksheets were there, textbooks, and assessments. Under the guidance of the National Board of Education, CBSE and NCRT, the content had been created by more than 250 teachers who teach in multiple languages. The app is available to use
और
offline.
कैसी है?
It has more than 80,000 ebooks for classes 1 to 12 created by CBSE and CRT in multiple languages. Then was another that was being used was ePathshala, is an e-learning app by NCRT for classes 1 to 12 in multiple languages. The app houses books, videos, audios aimed at students, education, educators, and parents in multiple languages, including Hindi, Urdu, and English. In this web portal, NCRT has deployed 1886 audios, 2000 videos, 696 ebooks, 504 flipbooks for classes 1 to 12 in different languages. National Respiratory of Open Educational Resources portal provides a host of resources for students and teachers in multiple languages, including books, interactive modules, and videos, including a host of STEM based games. Content is mapped to the curriculum for classes 1 to 12, including aligned resources for teachers, which contains total of 14 527 files, including 401 collections, 2,779 documents, 1,345 interactive, 1,664 audios, 2,586 images, 6,153 videos on different languages. These were the different portals or different apps that were being used by the government so that they could reach to the students, and even that was they were designed for the teachers also, for the students also, because it was not only new for the students but also for the teachers as well as for the educational institutions also, which all of a sudden became offline, online, sorry. Then on higher education, how the various universities like Swam Prabha, Pathshala, like Swam is a national online educational platform that provides free
Hello, ma'am. Please unmute yourself.
It is unmuted. I
Yeah,
feel
okay,
in
ma'am.
the okay.
Yeah.
Are you able to see the slide now? Hello?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am, it is not visible.
It is not visible. Okay. Let me just share. I feel in between something has happened. Now, are you able to see the slide now?
Yes, ma'am.
So, impact of COVID-19 on classroom teaching, what was discussing. at the school level or at the teacher level and at the student level, each and every level, the schools were not prepared. They were not having any kind of physical form basis for any kind of platforms or any kind of preparations to run the classes. All of the sudden, the cases started increasing and they were asked to close down. And at the teacher level also, the things were not very correct, or they were not very clear as to which apps to use, how to make assignments, how to make the Google Forms, how to go through the various portals, how to make use of various apps and all. Because earlier, then nothing was being required. Everything was being done in person during the office hours itself. And at the student level, the students were also not aware, especially those who were kids, who were very small. It was now the a kind of duty of the parents to sit together with them for making their kids to attend the classes. Those who were elderly, they could do it on their own, but those students who were in the rural areas, they were suffering because of the because internet connections were not available, they were not able to access, and everyone was not having an access to the technology. Now, what were the strategies which were used to manage crisis in education system? One was the open source digital learning solutions and learning management softwares should be adopted so that teachers can conduct teaching online. So, open source digital learning solutions and learning management software should be adopted so teachers can conduct teaching online, then access to technology to enable smooth running of online classes. So each and everyone should have an access to technology, able to make use of apps, make use of software, and so that they could smoothly run the sessions. Then preparing the higher education system for meeting the demand and supply that should be required across the globe. So it is very much required across the globe that now the higher education institutions as well as the schools, college, universities should get prepared. Then to establish high assurance mechanism and quality benchmark for online learning developed and offered by India's higher education institutes as well as ई-लर्निंग प्लेटफॉर्म गोइंग रैपिडली. सो किस तरीके से क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस दिया जा सके एंड व्हाट काइंड ऑफ benchmarking should be done so that earlier when the thing started there were nothing was being very much organized, that nothing was systematized, and how to access the various videos, how to access the e-databases which were being posted by the universities. Many of the e-materials were being posted so that the students can do not waste their time. Then government agencies must invest in research and development to find out technological ways to achieve digital learning rather than cutting expenses. Where there is a huge support of the government is also being required. Then leveraging modern technologies such as proctoring, learning management software, and a suite of management tools help execute digital learning. Then technology plays a critical role is not only the creation and dissemination of the educational content but also in the assessment of the students. How the educational contents is supposed to be given to the students, how the assessments were supposed to be done, assignments were being given, their sheets were being circulated, they were being asked to do the online paper. And many of the universities, while they promoted in 2020 they promoted the students of the previous year, but final year students had to go for objective paper. Either it was in person or it was on the online. Then virtual reality is another technology that can make learning much more immersive and take students to far away and inaccessible locations, while augmented reality can help in contextual learning. Now, various suggestions that were being given. India should develop creative strategies to ensure that all children must have sustainable access to learning during pandemic COVID-19. The Indian policies must include various individuals from diverse locations such as including remote regions, means wherever excess of internet was not there, excess of internet could be there. More and more tablets, more of smartphones, or more of distribution could be done by the government, so that the children get an access to such kind of technology, and they could be used in such kind of time possible. If the technology would have not been there, the students would have lost their academic sessions. So this has fostered at least things to move forward, as well as much of the research, much of the other educational materials also floated through the technology itself. Then immediate measures are required to lessen the effects of the pandemic on job offers, internship programs, and research projects. Many online learning platforms offer multiple programs on the same subjects with different level of certifications, methodology, and assessment parameters. So the quality of programs may differ across different online learning platforms. Therefore, establishment of quality assurance mechanisms and quality benchmark for online learning programs must be developed and offered by higher educational institutes in India, keeping in view of the rapid growth of the online learning platforms. Then, across the globe, Indian traditional knowledge is well known for its scientific innovations, values, and benefits to develop sustainable technologies and medicines, and this knowledge systems in different fields should be integrated with present day mainstream higher education system. Government and educational institutes should plan to continue the educational activities, maintaining social distancing. 30 to 40% of students and teachers maintain, which started during the first phase itself, that they started doing in shifts. Now everything has been all been smoother. uh, at current times, access to technology and internet is an urgent requirement, so the digital capabilities and the required infrastructure must reach to the remotest and poorest communities to facilitate the students to continue their education during the pandemic. There is a need to deploy public funds to fix the internet gap and ensure that students continue to learn digitally. Some significant issues associated with distance learning strategies, like the availability and access to digital service devices with internet connectivity, the need of safe learning spaces, and engaging lesson plans for disabled students and marginalized groups should be addressed by the government and the stakeholders. So, various other programs could be done so that the things could be curtailed according to the sources itself. Various other educational institutes should promote things. They can be also be done by the government itself. Then, lastly, the conclusion is COVID-19 has impacted immensely to the education sector of India. Though it has created many challenges, various opportunities are also being evolved. The Indian government and different stakeholders of education have explored the possibility of open and distance learning platforms by adopting different digital technologies to cope up with the present crisis of COVID 19. When COVID 19 came into play, COVID 19 came up, तो online जितने भी now if the present system is being thought of, many of the institutions that they have started to work to run courses in online also. Earlier everything was moving in offline. Now everyone is earlier nothing was being prepared, but now everything has been within these 2.5 years things have been become prepared. India is not fully equipped to make education reach all corners of the nation via digital platform. The students who aren't privileged like others will suffer due to the present choice of the digital platforms. But the universities and the government of India have reluctantly trying to cope up with the solution to resolve this problem. India should develop creative strategies to ensure that all children must have sustainable access to learning during pandemic COVID-19. The Indian policies must include various individuals from diverse backgrounds, including remote regions, minority groups for effective delivery of education. As online practice is benefiting the students immensely, it should be continued after the lockdown. Further details, this is all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this very nice session. If anyone has any question, you can ask. Yeah, I think no one have any question, ma'am. Thank you so much, all the participants, for your active participation. Let me inform to all that this complete session will be available on our Research Circle YouTube channel. So, if you want to watch it again or want to share it to somebody, please do visit the Research Circle YouTube channel. Thanks, and last but not the least, thank you, Dr. Neeta Batla ma'am, for taking out time for session. With your permission, I would like to end today's session here. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.